Hey, it's Travis. Too many camp directors run just on gut feel. Our free Resilient Camp Blueprint Diagnostic is your dashboard for resilience. Take it today at camp.mba/Travis. Again, that's camp.mba/Travis. What do you do to keep your own morale and motivation going? Or those of your staff, whether it's year-round staff or summer staff that you are hoping and working to get to come back to camp?
This is CampHacker. Come find our show notes and our blog for camp directors and leaders at camphacker.tv.
A big thanks to our sponsors who make the CampHacker podcast possible. You don't lead camp because you love the office, right? UltraCamp has everything you need to manage your program so you can spend more time doing what you love. Manage staff, register campers, take payments, and direct communication all in one place. Find out more at ultracampmanagement.com/camphacker. Great scheduling is the backbone of every camper's experience. But when there's a staffing change, it's almost impossible to fill that role with someone who knows all the nuances a schedule takes. Come check Camptivities out, specifically designed for camps by camp people. Find out more at camptivities.com.
Hello, Camp Mavericks, and welcome to the CampHacker podcast, brought to you by UltraCamp and Camptivities and Go Camp Pro. My name is Travis Allison. I'm a summer camp marketing and strategy consultant.
Hi, everyone. My name is Chris Hudson. I'm a DEI consultant, and I am the founder and camp director of Camp Highlight, the sleepaway camp for kids from LGBTQ families. In New York Times last week said it's the best camp in the world.
And my name is Gabrielle Rail. I'm one of the camp directors of Camp Oro. Camp Oro is an all-girls camp in the Laurentian Mountains of Quebec, and we focus on creating a positive environment for gender minorities.
And my name is Joe Richards. I'm the executive director at Pierce Williams Summer Camp and Retreat Facility, which is part of the United Church of Canada's camping network. And we are not the best camp in the world, as according to New York Times. But congratulations, Chris.
What an honor.
Am I going to get in trouble one day for these intros, you think?
I don't know. I've put my phone number
joking,
numerous
everybody.
times
Chris
on
is
this
joking.
thing. Yeah.
I mean, it's a very good camp, but I'm afraid I'm going to get sued by the actual best camp in the world, which I'm sure is some sort of Hogwarts situation somewhere. But anyway.
If they're suing for a joke, they're not really the best camp in the world.
That's
so
right.
Very fair. Very fair.
I contest.
Well, I want to thank the three of you for doing the last show without me. I was grateful to have the time to work on a presentation. I went back to Camp Kinta where I grew up, and it was always a joy to be there. And I know Teresa listens and some of the others listen too. So thank you all for your hospitality and for keeping this place that I love growing and improving so much. It's awesome. Today, we want to talk about how we keep morale up, and we'll talk about it in different aspects, but morale and motivation. So we want to thank Matt Wilfred, our executive producer and editor, for suggesting this topic. And as usual, he's got lots of wise things to give us, to feed us, to talk about. So we're grateful for that, Matt. I want to start with, how do you keep your own motivation up? I think that there are just parts of the year other than September that are just exhausting. And I think probably the worst is the month before camp, but at least there are people around that you can, camp people around that you can be inspired by and do that. But what do you do, Chris? What do you think to keep your motivation and morale up?
This is one of those topics that we talk about where I'm like, am I going to share as much as I'm going to absorb? Because I'm really interested in what you all have to say. Just really quickly, after camp, after I get back home in August, I'm done. I'm done for months. Like, I can't even look at it. And we have camp events in September. And it's just like, it's like army crawling. Like, I just want to be like, I just want to be done. Then the next thing you know, it's December and it's time to start all over again. How I keep my morale up is, I'm going to be honest, I really don't. But in the beginning, we tried really hard. We would take like a week off. So after camp was over, me and the other camp director, I was like, I don't want to see or talk to you for a week. And then it became 2 weeks over the years. And we were like, we really need to get back on the ball. So we like pushed each other to be like, we need to start thinking about camp mid-September.
Yeah.
nowadays, I mean, call it self-care, call it, I'm just better at what I do now. But like, I give myself a full 3 months off. That helps keep my morale up, actually, because when I come back, December 15th is the start of our preseason.
Yeah.
When we come back, I really do feel refreshed. Like what I would suggest is like really take the time, as much time as you can during the season. How do I keep my morale up? Oh, are we moving to that? Can I talk about that? Or are we just talking about before?
Let's just talk about before. Let's focus there.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
So a couple of things I pick up from that, Chris. One, we should acknowledge that there are times when our own morale is low, even though that's sometimes hard to admit to our colleagues, certainly to our families and friends, but our camp people as well. And that you have used accountability to sort of get yourself back up there and feed off another person.
Absolutely.
That's great. Good. Thank you. How about for you, Joe?
I think for me, it's mainly about pacing, right? Like my morale and my love of camp. I realized many, many years ago that if you're going to do this as a career and stay in, as you know, Travis, as someone who sort of stepped away from the day-to-day operations of a camp many years ago, it's all about pacing and keeping yourself curious about what the future of camp and what can make your camp better. And so I find for me that that pacing is something that continues in the before camp times, so that I don't get overwhelmed with the things, because it's very easy to see a list of things that you're supposed to be doing and think they all need to be done today.
Sure. And
they don't. We have months to get them ready. It's just making sure you schedule them. I'm very lucky to live on site at camp. And so it's something that it's not like I need to move to camp every June and say goodbye to the rest of the world. This is my home. This is where I live. And so it's somewhere that, when I walk the grounds today, I can sort of see things that need to be improved and be excited by those improvements, which helps with me continue. So we met with an engineer yesterday and talked about a new ramp for our dining hall. And it's just great to see change happening. And at the same time, I was like, oh yeah. And if we cut down these two giant spruce trees at the same time, people will notice the ramp before they notice the fact that they lost these two trees.
Right.
And so it's this trick. And so I play games with people's, like with how people are going to perceive things. They'll notice the two trees are missing, but they'll also be super excited by this new space at camp that gives more people access to our buildings. So
right on. That's great. Gab, how about for you? What's your motivation and morale tips and tricks?
I think I always go into after the summer, I don't know why, but thinking like, oh, I'm the same as I was the year before. What I need is the same as what I did before. Every summer is different. I'm different. My family dynamic around me is different. And I try to assess or anticipate what will I need. I'm with Chris. I think a little disconnect is really helpful for me. But it also pairs very nicely with what Joe's talking about with that curiosity. And I love learning about things outside of camp, and it inevitably always connects me back to camp and why I'm excited. I think that also 2020 taught me or realigned me with what I really care about camp, because we didn't have campers on site. We did have staff for a short period of time, for 6 weeks. And that year was very uncomfortable for me after camp. And I felt almost like itchy, like my soul was itchy. And it was because I didn't get to spend time with campers. And it really showed me how much I really, really, really like that aspect of camp. And I know some camp directors, it's the other way around. It's more staff. Some directors, we all have our sort of our thing that gives us energy. So for me, what's helpful is just reconnecting to what I like, but then of course, having that space, disconnecting, prioritizing myself, and not panicking that you're never going to get everything done. It's impossible. There's always improvements. So just accepting that you're not going to get everything done, and going towards things that there's always stuff we're going to have to get done, but what are some things that you enjoy and that you're excited about? I think finding that spark is super important. I also think it's part of our job, to be honest. Is the same as we've seen people in careers that are maybe there too long. And my goal is for myself is to connect with myself and check in and say, like, is this where I want to be? Right now, this is where I want to be. But I always leave the door open as that this might not be for me in 5 years, 10 years. So it keeps me vigilant.
Yeah. I got to take a second now and thank Camptivities for their sponsorship of CampHacker. When you end that call and your mind is spinning, like, who is it that can do all of the scheduling? Who can make sure people show up on time? Who can make sure that the kids get to the things that they want? Where are you going to find the person who does that? Where are you going to find the time to train them? Where are you going to have a moment to explain all the nuances and details to make sure that the schedules for all of your people come out the right way? The only people who know anything about scheduling at your camp often are the ones who have so much on their plate. Does this mean that you give it all up and just say, I'm going to have lots of late nights each week to get the scheduling done? If you search Google for the Camp Activity Scheduler, you're going to come across Camptivities, our sponsor. It's an activity scheduler for camps by camp people. As you click the Camptivities link, you're already thinking this would never work for our camp. But you begin to look through it anyway. You explore it. You can see that they can schedule your groups, your campers. You can do a whole bunch of batch scheduling. Now you're starting to get a little more interested. You can do some manual adjustments if you need to. Okay, you can make sure that the electives get scheduled and kids get the best of what they want. There's lots of customizable settings. There's more than 50 reports that you can work with. And then you start to say to yourself, this might actually work for us. It could save us a lot of time. When you think about your organizational continuity and stop relying on just that one person who has the right brain to make summer schedules work, then you start to think bigger and you begin to look for tools like this, and Camptivities fits that bill. They would love to show you the next big thing in camp. Please don't wait. Go to check out their onboarding process when you have time now so that you can be ready to do all the scheduling this summer. Visit camptivities.com and set up a time to chat with them. Let them help you get away from your desk and back out to camp. I'm glad we decided on this topic because I did an afternoon presentation on this with a group of program directors from camps across Canada and the United States on Monday. And there's a couple of things that I was thinking about in preparing for that. Number one, I think my recommendation is don't make camp your hobby. Have other hobbies. When I see some camp people who, are on tons of committees, do tons of volunteer work, but it's camp related volunteer work. So, they're on ACA, OCA, ACQ committees or whatever it is, or even local community committees that are relevant to camp, and that those people go to meetings and then don't give themselves the time off, because meetings are often in the evenings, and they don't give themselves the equal time off in the morning because they're thinking, well, that's volunteer work. That's not my work. But that is your job. You're doing things for camp as well as for your community, but that is your job. So don't make camp your hobby. Kind of don't make your volunteer work, don't devalue your volunteer work as input on your job, and take the breaks relative to that. And so that was one of the things I thought about a lot. The other one, and this is taking off what Chris said in the beginning, I think the conversation and accountability aspect of having other people who know your job is invaluable. Like, even if it is someone just to cry to, even if it is wine and swears night, whatever it takes to have someone who appreciates you and, will just listen. Sometimes it's the kick in the pants, like, you've been talking about this for a long time. Is there a way to reframe this to get onto a different wavelength about it? But I think that accountability is invaluable. And everybody should have that. And I've been thinking about that a lot lately because of working on some big projects with clients. And I have had two executive directors say that they appreciate the director therapy that it's just us talking about how the job is going and having someone to connect with, because it can be pretty lonely in this, but there are lots of other people lonely in doing the same job.
Also, delegation. I feel like that's, and we can say it for anything, but the less that you are responsible for, the more people who have their hands like on the levers.
Totally.
Like it's just, I'm just repeating what you already said, Travis, but like it's accountability to other people. When other people are like in our camp Slack being like, hey, should the application should be going out for staff soon? Like, it's just, it's like the little gentle prodding. When it's all on you, it can be, it's just too much. It's too much. And then your morale is going to, you get like I do, like after camp, you get like the real, like, oh, like the all the way come down because you're doing too much. Everyone should delegate more. We had an episode on that, and just go back and listen to that episode. Everyone needs to delegate more. There's no downside.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think also back with the sort of the friendship piece or peers within our industry and connecting with those individuals, that was definitely something that for me that's on the top of my list. And if you're somebody that's, in the middle of the woods somewhere, or you're in the city, middle of the city somewhere, and you're like, how do I make camp adult friends? Like, how do I do that? Join a conference if possible. There's online Zoom programs, or even volunteer for an association. And if you're volunteering, you manage your time. So you decide, I could do 1 hour every other week to do this. This is how I've made my connections within the camp industry. This is how I've built relationships. And they are by far the best investment I've ever been privileged to have is these friendships. And it's really helpful also just for my own perspective. Sometimes within camp, you think, oh, this is my fault, or I'm doing it wrong. And then you hear other camp directors being like, what the heck is happening with X, and you're like, whoa, wait, me too. Like this is helpful. And we are in a particular type of industry where we are quite alone compared to maybe like teachers that are all in the same school together. Camp directors, typically don't have that space where we can gather as much. So definitely colleagues, peers that you can just chat with and somebody really getting it. It's so helpful.
One of the things I was thinking about, that if you are a new year-round camp leader and you're listening to this discussion, obviously we've all been in the industry for a long time. I'm worried that you might be listening to this and thinking, yeah, well, you folks have power in your organization. You folks have all this experience, and even you have, past programs to pull from. So you're not struggling all the time to come up with you're not brand new and trying to design the job and the camp and the business relationships and all the staff stuff. And I understand that is true, but I want to say, as a person who's not doing on the ground camp stuff, that seeing what these three have done to set their own boundaries is the takeaway I want you to take from that. It is hard at the beginning. Parts of it get easier every year. Parts of it get added on and are worse every year, or just harder every year. I suppose not worse, but there are parts of it that get easier every year. So I think that comes from learning to set your own boundaries and saying, this is away from camp, or this is my evening, not in camp in the summer, etc.
Can I just tangent off of that real fast?
Yep.
If you are starting a camp program, once upon a time, I started this camp program. On the topic of motivation and morale, it can all feel really overwhelming if you're at the beginning of it. Listen, if there's ever an industry where people want to help you, this is it. And, our motto is always work smarter, not harder. We copy, borrow, steal, are influenced by things that, if you really dug through Camp Highlight, you'd find the DNA of about anywhere between 10 to 15 different camps that I visited or camp directors that I've become friends with in there. So it's like, when we think about motivation and morale, I think you can defeat yourself by being like, I've got this mountain to go up, but there are so many people who will help you, who will make sure, and that will ensure that your morale doesn't dip so dramatically in the process. So I just want to give a shout out to the whole industry.
I think it's important to note that when you're new, and one of the things that frustrates me the most when I actually go on the Summer Camp Pros group on Facebook is conversations about like how long people think they'll last, right? Or what their plan is, because you can't do camping for a life. And I'm like, well, if you suck at planning and you put too much of your energy in and you burn yourself out, I can see where you need to find something else. But the reality is, I think that the industry suffers because we lose some amazing people who don't know how to self-regulate their time and energy for the marathon that is camping and not the sprint that they think every summer is. And I think the key to this is that, lots of people want to say in everything, and this goes back to Chris's like delegate. And also when you're new somewhere, you feel like you need to do everything, but you need to really pace yourself and figure it out. The other struggle I have, Travis, and I'd be interested as a consultant, like one of the frustrating things that I would always, that I see some camps doing is hiring people on 1-year contracts. And if you're on a contract for it to be a camp director, even if it's a full-time contract, you can never think about the longevity of where you are.
Yeah.
And
Totally.
and what I would argue is that you should never hire on a contract. Well, I don't know American labor law, but I do know in Canada that all it is, I can get rid of anybody. I just pay them to leave. And the lawyers that have sat on our boards for years have said it's often, to get the thinking about someone being here long term and how they fit and how their idea doesn't need to be fully formed this summer, because we know that we'll do it again next summer and the summer after. There's a huge benefit to that thinking in camping. And if you're parachuting in as a camp director to solve a problem at a camp, you need a very different mindset for a summer to solve problems than you do to build a community up and leave it to be successful when you move on to go somewhere else. But it frustrates me like no end to see good people leaving our industry because they either don't know how to self-regulate or the organizations are abusive in their expectations.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure that we said that second part. I have seen so many great camp directors that I respect, look up to, am inspired by, who have left this industry because their bosses were idiots or their organization had completely unreal expectations. And that's not just limited to the nonprofit camps. It's been in private camps as well, where just that the expectations are stupid. And I think it's one of the biggest problems of our industry that we don't value our staff. We don't pay them. We don't give enough time off. We don't, all of those things. And
Travis,
because labor has been so cheap for camps,
yeah,
legally, I think that we built our business model on a bad foundation because of that. Tell me what your thinking face means, Chris.
I think we've done 2 episodes on this now.
Yeah.
But I'm going to echo something that Joe had said in one of those previous episodes. What's the right number? Listen, what's the right number to pay staff? Is it $4,000 a week? Is it 6? Like, come on. I know what you're getting at. Whenever that gets lobbed into the conversation, I have to be like, okay, listen, the camp is a transaction. It's a transactional activity, right? But just not the kind that we're used to in our everyday mercenary lives. I just wanted to point that out. I always want to just point out whenever we bring up staff pay that it's more than just paying them. Like it has to be, because we would all do one season and then fold bankrupt.
Yeah, it's a hard conversation to have, but I get Travis's point that good people leave camps because of bad organizations. In the nonprofit world, specifically in the United Church of Canada world, good people leave camps because they have bad boards or boards that don't understand or support them or know how to run as a board without micromanaging. So these are all the challenges.
Gab, you look like you had a thought.
I was thinking that, also, I hear what you're saying, Chris. I think also what maybe sometimes some of the camps that I've come across that have asked for my support, their organizations believe in staff members only volunteering for the summer, and that their camp directors, will do camp fairs, but they won't pay them for those camp fairs. It's only when they're on camp that they get paid, or if they're, working from their office. And so I think there's quite a spectrum. The camp industry it's very difficult financially, but I think there's also there's an abuse line too, that I think that sometimes that Travis is talking about. I think morale and motivation has so many components on what can motivate us, what can demotivate us. I mean, I have a hard time sometimes with my motivation in just my day-to-day work, where I sit down and I get paralyzed. I'm like, what do I want to start with? Or where I'm at right now, I'm doing a lot of interviews and chats with staff members, which I know is going to be really important for the summer. But when I have more than 3 chats in a day, it's like I can't get anything else done. And then I feel kind of crap about myself. I'm like, I basically did these chats, prep for these chats, and I didn't get any of my paperwork done. I didn't get the staff training that I actually want to start working on. There's these things that I think pile up. My question is to all 3 of you, what about the day-to-day? I'm in my office. I don't really see anybody else. I'm trying to get stuff done. Motivation can be tough,
Are you talking about before, like during the season?
No, I just mean like during like the winter seasons, like
like right now.
Yeah, right now.
Yeah.
Oh, there are whole wasted days. FYI, just where you do stuff. Like I do stuff, but like I'm not sure who. I think I benefit because I know it will lead to me. Right, I can research a new standing desk base because mine broke for like half a day, and figure out what the best price is for Pierce Williams to buy a new standing desk base, and read all the reviews and see who the New York Times actually called the best standing base in the world, right? Like I can do all of those things. And I think that our hustle and productivity culture has made that people say, well, that's not being productive. And you're like, well, it is. As long as nothing's fallen through the cracks, right? Like it's not like I've let something else go.
But that's the issue, right? If you spent 6 hours on the standing desk, something fell through the cracks.
No. According to David Allen, getting things done. Yeah. If that's my most important task that I feel, then so be it. And as an executive director, I can feel that I don't have anybody coming to me saying, what did you do yesterday to move revenue for camp?
No, and I get that. I guess that's not my point. My point is like, Gabs, I'm thinking about your question because I think it depends on, this is why I asked when. It depends what time of year it is.
Yeah.
Because in the winter now, I'm just looking around trying to think about how I wasted an entire day. I will spend time like pricing out a new speaker for the dance. You know what I mean? Or like a speaker. I will spend my time doing this and it will be like 3 or 4 hours in. The truth is I have other things to do. We're in the midst of registration and hiring. I'm the only one who can program all the modules for whatever. Like I should be doing those things. So no, I hear you. It's not that I'm afraid someone's going to check up on me and be like, "Oh, what did you do?" Like, it's not that. It's just
you could be doing those things.
I could.
You have made the choice to do something else because you know the other things will get done.
Well, now going back to what I said, why I asked when is because as the season gets closer, come April and May, it's just, I'm like pounding onto this computer and crying. It's just, I'm running out of time. And it goes back to motivation. And then that's when I'm like, did I really need to spend 6 hours researching Bluetooth network speakers like that back like 4 months ago? I don't know. It's sort of like arraying your tasks in a way throughout the year that don't damage your morale and motivation.
Yeah. But I also
honestly, I'm not very motivated right now when we're recording this in January. I'm not.
I think, Chris, it's really important to build on your point that no matter how much planning we do now as camp professionals in January to get ready for July, camp will still sneak up on us. It does every year. It has for the past 25 years for me. It sneaks up on me. And I come to June and I'm like, why didn't I do this earlier? And no matter how many planning things I've put in place over the past 20 years, I know it's still going to sneak up on me. I know that camp happens, right? And you can cry over your laptop, but the reality is kids have an amazing summer and nobody's dead, hopefully, and you move on.
Yeah, I think for me, like the thing that I'm consistently working on is sort of my guilt. I think sometimes that comes in and that can bring my morale down. It's not necessarily the work, but it's more like, did I optimize my day? And you're right, Joe. You just reminded me that you plan so that when you are working, you're not anxious about the other things that you're not working on because you've planned to get those things done. And it is true, like April, May, the panic does set in. So I that's something that's a personal thing that I'm working on, is that sometimes I get in my own head though. And I sort of start being my own critic and saying, look what you could have done and you didn't do today. But the other part of me is also saying like, well, you gave these 3 people or 4 people all of your attention, and that takes a lot of energy. I think it's like sometimes when we're by ourselves, we can have like this inner monologue that can be a little bit tough. But that goes back to what Travis was saying. Having those friendships, having those building those relationships are so important. So you can have that friend being like, "Stop being ridiculous. Have a glass of wine. You're fine."
Also, I just want to, for anyone listening, Joe, what you said was really important. Camp sneaks up on you no matter how long you've been doing camp. Mm-hmm. So when you feel like the sky is falling, and especially if you're starting new and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm the worst camp director. No, we're all doing the same thing. We're all crying over laptops. May 15th, we're all frantic. It's okay. And like you said, Joe, the kids love it. Not our franticness. They love the work that we do.
I think that's a great place to wrap things up. The kids love it. Don't forget, the kids love it. I've had to go into a staff lounge and say, it sounds to me like you've been preparing the 60-second announcement for 4 hours. And I appreciate your commitment to the children, but the kids will love it if you just dress up and put on, a silly accent, and like that's what they need. Is they just need something they just need you. Really, they need you to be there and to care about them. So, awesome place to land things. I want to take a second now and thank UltraCamp for their sponsorship of the CampHacker podcast. There's a way through UltraCamp that you can increase your staff retention. You can do it by staying in touch with your staff all year long. UltraCamp has built for us a staff communication calendar that includes some pre-written prompts for free. You can download the whole thing for free. Those prompts will give you the things to talk about, the questions to ask, the creative ideas for staying in touch. And that way you keep your staff with you, increase the chance that they'll come back, and just make them feel like they're welcome and respected at camp. If you want to download that, you can go to ultracampmanagement.com/camphacker. Do you remember why you wanted to get into the camp world? Why did you choose this as a job? UltraCamp knows that it wasn't because you love paperwork. That's why they built the platform that doesn't put limits on the features or support that they offer. There are no more limits on what you can report or how often you can get insights or advice through your UltraCamp program. With UltraCamp, you get unlimited custom reports, unlimited support, unlimited training, and unlimited users. UltraCamp's goal is to help their clients spend less time in the office and spend more time doing the job that they love. If you want to know if UltraCamp is right for you and get the free download, go to ultracampmanagement.com/camphacker. And that means we are on to our tool of the week.
Tool of the week.
I am going to start us off on the tool of the week this time. I came across a really interesting program called Pixton, Pixton. There's a free version and a paid version. The freemium's pretty great. And it was created for students doing presentations. And it gives you illustrated people that you can create, put in all the details of the people, hairstyles and skin color and clothes and even clothing styles. And I use them for a presentation this week because I didn't have any. I like to use my own photographs in presentations, but didn't have some that suited. So this gave me sort of an anonymous person that can fit in. And if you're a camp that is trying to be intentional about expanding who comes to your camp, you're going to have to attempt to show that that you're open to that. And you can demonstrate that through the use of some of the stuff in Pixton. And they're mostly, the free versions are like figures facing forward. You can get a free trial, and it's kind of like a comic book maker is what it is. And it will allow you to pose people and then download one frame for poster you're making, etc. So that's Pixton, and it is something I got some good use out of today. Gab, what's your tool?
My tool is a small rig microphone that you can attach onto your smartphones. Smartphones technology is amazing. It's becoming more and more amazing when it comes to videos. And sometimes I look at some great videos and I'm like, oh, that sound is just not where it could be. And tests have shown that people will skip a video if the sound quality is poor, not if the visual is poor. So any external microphone that's tiny that you can attach onto your phone, so it's a run and gun situation, is awesome. And this a small rig mic is really, really standing up to the other mics like Rode and DAD. They're doing some pretty cool work, and it's only $60.
That's awesome. Thank you. I was just thinking back. I had to do a little Google search for when did the iPhone come out, because I remember over the time that we've been doing podcasts, we've just been gradually more and more saying, your smartphone can do this. There's a lot of time at the beginning where like, smartphones are great, but you probably want a real camera for this job. And here's a real camera that I recommend. It's been lots of cameras recommended, but it's fun to have been in the room with you all over this big period of time. As culture and producing cool stuff for camp has changed. Thanks, Gab. Good pick. Chris?
I'm going to get a little academic. I am reading this book. It's called Not Just for Play, Summer Camp and the Profession of Social Work. I am a social worker by profession, and this is it's a series of articles just about camp and the growth of social work and social work modalities at camp. It's a really interesting history of, dynamics, group dynamics from a social work perspective, how they've evolved. And I like it because it's two things that I'm interested in. It's my two careers, social work and camp. Check it out. If you like reading dry academic texts that are chock full of information, then I think it will be for you. But I'm going to issue yet another warning. It is a textbook. So if you're looking to go to the beach and pop this baby out, you'll be asleep in seconds. But if you want to learn about how social work has influenced camping and vice versa, check it out.
That's perfect. Thank you, Chris. What's your tool of the week, Joe?
Before I get to my tool, I just want to say to Chris, there's some amazing articles about social work and camp from the 50s and 60s in the Canadian Camping magazine archive.
Really?
So if you go to
very curious about that.
If you go to the archive on archive.org and search for Canadian Camping magazine, and then you can do a keyword search of the text. And if you search for social work, one of my old camp owners, Taylor Staton II, was a social worker and a professor at the University of Toronto. And he was born in the 1910 area.
Telling all his business. Wow.
Yeah. And then he since passed away, but there's some articles that he wrote about the benefits of camp. I'm not saying it's all to today's standard or to today's inclusiveness, but
I'm very curious.
Don't let the idea be obscured by the lack of proper.
No, I totally hear that. And I'm going to look that up because I find both camping and social work were problematic in the 1950s and 60s. So, but it's always interesting to see I'm very much like this about camp, is that understanding the history of it makes me a much better camp director.
Yeah.
Because I am trying to counter program for all of those years. We don't have to talk about it, but all that stuff we used to do at camp. But anyway, I'm going to look that up. Thank you.
My tool of the week is also a book. It's a much lighter read. It's called 100 Things We've Lost to the Internet by Pamela Paul. I got the audiobook, so I don't know. It's only 5.5 hours, and I was listening to it on my drive to pick up some packages the other day by crossing the border into the U.S. It's an interesting historic document for people who grew up prior to the internet and and has now lived through this. But it also, as a camp director, allowed me to be like, oh, this is why I won't allow phones at camp, right? This is why. So the ones I took out of these are just some of them. So boredom, uninhibitedness, private humiliation, unpopular opinions, and empathy. Pamela writes really well, and they're all very short chapters, but like the idea of uninhibitedness is one of the reasons that we shouldn't allow staff to have their phones at camp, right? Because as soon as you introduce something, and this goes for private humiliation and unpopular opinions as well, people are afraid today, afraid to share, afraid to say, afraid to do, because everything that they say, do, or think sometimes can be interpreted by others out of context, or, just prior to getting on today, I wrote, I was thinking about this idea of uninhibitedness. And what we love about camp is when staff get dressed up for campfire and just lose themselves in a character. And if somebody's going to be snapping a photo and judging it, right, and putting snarky comments on it on Instagram, they're not going to be nearly as willing to be that uninhibited. As AI has said to me earlier today, the internet has revolutionized the way we communicate, but it also has a major impact on our sense of uninhibitedness. As we spend more time online, we become increasingly aware of what we say and how it might be judged by others. We become more self-conscious and less likely to share our true thoughts and feelings. We also become more aware of our digital footprint and potential consequences of our words. This fear of being judged and the need to conform can lead us to becoming less open and honest in our online and real-world conversations. Unfortunately, this loss of uninhibitedness can lead to a decrease in meaningful interactions and a less fulfilling online experience. And all I asked AI to do was write a 100-word paragraph about the loss of uninhibitedness due to the internet. And that's what it came up with. So the book is worth it. There are some funny things like filofaxes and rotary telephones. And then there's some more serious things like this.
It is a great tool. I'm interested to check it out. I am giggling to myself, Joe, that you took a book with that title and plugged some of the stuff into ChatGPT to have him kick out a paragraph for you.
Well, as a reference, a second tool I'm going to sneak in, Travis, ChatGPT is overloaded a lot. You can't get on it and do it. If you instead go to openai.com/playground, it's a lot more open. It's a bit more difficult to use, but it gets you the same result, same stuff.
Very cool. Thank you. Great tools, everybody. Thank you. Thank you to the three of you for another great discussion. If you have questions for Gabs, Joe, and Chris, you can go to camphacker.tv/podcast and find their information. That is, of course, where you will also find links to our tools of the week and all of the back issues of CampHacker. I had a chance to talk to somebody this week for whom YouTube was their main way of catching CampHacker. So I want to say thank you to the folks who do watch us on YouTube and subscribe to us there, and those that have us automatically appear on their phones as well. We are looking forward to another great episode soon, but in the meantime, I want to say that there is one other Go Camp Pro podcast that I want you to check out this week when you're preparing for staff training, and that is Camp Code. You'll hear Gabs and Beth and Ruby talking about and making you smarter about preparing for your staff training, and some really great and thoughtful shows have been coming out recently, so thank you, Gab, for that. And finally, I want to say thanks for the evening, friends.
The CampHacker podcast is brought to you by Beth and Travis Allison, summer camp leadership training and marketing consultants. Thanks for listening.
Hey, Camp Pros. We love that our industry is built on sharing. In order to foster that spirit, if you've gotten even one good idea from a Go Camp Pro podcast, a masterclass, from the Summer Camp Pros group on Facebook, at a conference, or wherever else, we ask that you give credit where credit is due. That way, we can encourage camp pros to keep freely sharing their brilliant ideas and make the camp industry better. Thanks very much.
Hey, it's Travis. Camp directors often tell me they're just too tired to take on anything new. That's exactly why my free Resilient Camp Blueprint Diagnostic exists. It doesn't add work, it shows you progress. Quick, free, repeatable, you'll know if your systems are paying off without the guesswork. Try it today at camp.mba/Travis. That's camp.mba/Travis.